let me just tell you, this sport, when I first got started, this sport was very, very huge. I mean, it was a huge sport, not just pole vault. Track and field was a huge sport, and it was the number one sport in high school. It was one of the top sports on television. We could see it at least once a week, and it was growing. And then all of a sudden, there was a turn, and the sport started going down. And I think it's because we lost a little bit of the PR, the public relations, the promotion of our sport, the marketing of our sport kind of went down. And I think that kind of turned right around the late 80s, early 90s. We're not quite sure what that was. But as I was in the sport in the 70s and 80s, things were pretty cool. We went over to Europe. We had a lot of fun. We made some money and really enjoyed ourselves over in Europe. We came over here. We made a little bit of money, but it wasn't as much as we made in Europe. Now, as a triple jumper, the triple jump was not that big a deal. Okay, it was like the little redhead stepchild of track and field.
My son's
so
a jumper.
But we tried harder, right? We tried harder. One of the things that we used to do is when you go over to Europe, you plan your meets, you go over to Europe, and you try to avoid pole vaulters like the plague, and then you go and you compete at different meets all over Europe. And then you'd line up and you'd get your little per diem or whatever the money is that they gave you. And that was not a lot of fun, but it was something you had to do in order to get paid. Well, one day I went to my first meet. It was in Stockholm, Sweden. Now, some of these knuckleheads have already heard this story, so you guys can just go to sleep while I finish this. I had a manager. He went in to set up all the meets because all the meet promoters went to this one meet. It was in Stockholm, and they were planning their meets and deciding which athletes they were going to have at the meet. Well, my manager came back out and he said, "Willie, hey, I got you this meet in Lausanne. And that's all I could get you." Now, the meet in Lausanne is a long jump. I know you're a triple jumper, but I'm sure you'd be all right in Lausanne doing a long jump. I was like, "Yeah, so what's going on? What about the other meets?" "Well, unfortunately, they're not having the triple jump." I said, "What do you mean they're not having the triple jump?" "Well, I guess it's just not something they're doing this year." Now, I had already planned to buy a house with my earnings, right? No. But, so I went into this room where all the meet promoters were. Now, athletes weren't really allowed to go in, but I was pissed. So I went in, I walked up to the biggest meet promoter, I said, "I understand you're not having any triple jump. What's the deal with that?" He said, "Well, let me tell you something. Why should I bring you in and pay you when no one is coming to my meet to see you jump? You are not putting butts in the seats." Simple as that. You're not putting butts in the seats. Well, I was pissed. And I thought, okay, I will show you that the triple jump is the most exciting event in track and field. I will show you that people, yes, they do come see the triple jump, and you'll see that tonight at the track meet. And he said, "Get the hell out of here." So I left, and I was preparing for the meet. It was the same day, so that I was so upset. I went to the stadium early. I went there about 4 hours early, and I just started warming up. Now, there was no one there but the people who were setting up. And I was just warming up. And I had I was just sweating. I had my headphones on, and I had recorded this one song over and over again, because I'm a simple-minded guy. It was Not Just Knee Deep by Parliament Funkadelic. Now, old people, we know that song, right? Young people, go look it up on the internet. And there was a great instrumental in there, and I just had that going in my head, and I just disappeared into the music. Hours went by, and the meet started, and the stadium's filled, and I had my headphones on, and I was out stretching. They got ready for the triple jump. They gathered us all together, and they said, they gave us, the instructions, as they usually do. And afterwards, I told the guys, I said, "Look, guys, we've got to do something special tonight. You know that we're not having the triple jump in Europe this year. We're not going to get paid. We've got to do something to show them that the triple jump is the most exciting event in track and field." They looked at me like I was crazy. And I could not believe it. The first 8 guys that ran down the runway fouled. Even I want to shoot myself in the head. So I got up and I had my headphones on again, and I said, okay, it's my turn. I was like just ready to go home. And I'm doing my little thing, and there was some drunk guys in the stadium, about 5 guys. Heck, this was Sweden. And they had, so they were in the stands, and I kind of looked at them, and I was stretching. Well, it was my turn. I took my sweats off, took my headphones off. And when I get started, I usually look down the runway, clap my hands 3 times, shake my fist, and I go. Right? That was my old warm-up. Well, I clapped my hands 3 times, and these 5 drunk guys clapped their hands 3 times. I was like, what the? I looked over at them, and I looked at them, and they just kind of looked back and laughed. So I got back in my position, and they clapped 3 times. I was getting mad. I said, okay, forget it. Shook my hands, I ran down, I jumped 54.8, which was a pretty good jump. It wasn't great. But I was okay. I came back, and these guys were laughing and clapping. I said, okay, right. So I put my headphones on, and I got into music. I just started, doing my little Willie Banks thing and stretching. And they got into it. And this whole little section where I was, they kind of got into the dancing. They couldn't hear the music, but they got into my dancing. And when it was my turn to get up again, this whole section started,